from WrestleMania 6 to 9, he would always do that little voiceover at the beginning. So, always worth a giggle if you want to go back on that, for sure. But yeah, thank you for your points there, Leo. Glad to see you've gone back on some old stuff, and glad to see you've enjoyed it. Let us know if you go on to WrestleMania 7, because she did say she's going through the whole lot, Matt, before she gets to WrestleMania. So that's a hell of a long feat. She said the only one she's leaving out is 97, and that's because we're covering it. So very good. And good luck with all that, because I tell you, there's a lot of them now, Matt, when you think about it. God dear, don't know if I could do it.
Well, definitely going to be in for some good matches though along the way.
Yeah, definitely. Let us know how you get on with that. Okay, DX1, another familiar. I know you've been coming up there a lot. Does WrestleMania need The Rock this year? Also, could WWE bring Mike Goldberg in as a play-by-play guy? So, first point of that, Matt. Rock at WrestleMania. Do we need The Rock at WrestleMania this year? And also, Matt, before you get to that, more breaking news. It's been reported that The Rock will be on Raw tonight because he is filming the film about, of course, WWE Page there in that around that area. So that'd be interesting if he turns up there and talks about that, won't it? In a lot of ways. But Matt, what do you think? Does Rock need to be at WrestleMania, or could WWE just take a year off of him and kind of work around him, or is it a given that he's going to be there anyway?
Well, I know The Rock's incredibly popular, and there's so many Rock fans these days, but maybe a bit controversial, but WWE doesn't need anybody, you know, they don't really need anyone. If they can get The Rock, you know, he's got a huge following, so it's beneficial to him. Yeah, it helps WrestleMania, but they don't need him there. But personally, if I was in charge of booking it, I'd have him there. Every time that he was available, I would have The Rock on the show, because people still have that nostalgic feel about him. People don't seem to get bored of The Rock. And personally, in my view, I always find The Rock really funny, you know. I always look back on some of his stuff and think, oh, well, that wasn't that funny. But when he comes on and does stuff, at the time, it's usually quite current and quite funny.
Yeah, I would have him there, but I don't want to see what happened last year where we got like a 10-second match. That was against Eric Rowan. Like, I want to see him do something a little bit better. You know, I didn't mind, for instance, when he come out and done the stuff with Ronda Rousey and Stephanie and Triple H. That was kind of worked for me. I liked the stuff he done with Hogan and Austin the year before that. Kind of get all that, but you know, last year I felt like it was a little bit. It was like too overdone. They gave him so much time, and it was all kind of for nothing. And the Whites didn't get any rub out of it, and it just made no sense whatsoever. So I feel like if they're going to have him there, let's have him doing something entertaining and something better than what we got last year. But yeah, I think if you've got The Rock available, you're going to have him. Other points that Mike Goldberg, who recently left the UFC, Mike Goldberg, interestingly enough, whether you know this or not, he did actually go for a WWE job as a play-by-play guy in 2007-6. I think it was somewhere around that, 2006 or 7. Jim Ross was talking about on his podcast, because he recently had the recent acquisition of course, what was his name? Grisham. Todd Grisham is now a part of UFC, of all people that have got there. And and they did have him show up, Mike Goldberg, but at the time he decided to stay with UFC because UFC done him a deal where they matched WWE's contract offer. So he decided to stay with them. But whether he'd be interested in coming back now, I don't know. And also, is there really a place for someone like him at the moment, Matt? Considering Maro's there and we've got Michael Cole, like those positions of the main guys, they're kind of somewhat taken. And I can't imagine he'd settle for NXT really. So if you've got someone like Mike Goldberg, you might need something a bit more than just that. But what do you think to that, Matt?
Yeah, it's quite stacked now, WWE, for like announcing talent. It kind of makes you feel like, Like, is there any room? I couldn't see there being any, because even on Raw now, they've even got Austin Aries doing that for the cruiserweights now. So, like, so many avenues, so many options. And on SmackDown, they have 4 announcers now. I think that's a bit overdoing it. I couldn't see it working out too well, like being constantly 4 on Raw. I mean, like, and you get to 5, you've got to put Austin Aries in the mix as well. It would just be chaos.
Yeah.
And when you see the segments now, when they come out and then a wrestler has to talk about a wrestler that's in the ring and he's the guest on commentary, and like sometimes you're looking at the announcers and there's like a row of 5 people because another person's come out and got on as a guest commentator. I mean, they're going to run out of room sooner or later.
Yeah.
But yeah. NXT's good for it though, because now they got Percy Watson, and I was surprised by that because I was thinking, oh, he wouldn't be that great, but he's quite capable, and maybe that's what he's been doing all his time, learning, like, practicing his commentary skills. So they can even bring in younger talent. You know, it doesn't really have to look elsewhere.
Yeah, no, totally agree with that. To that point, and it's like they've got a whole squad of commentators at the moment. Okay, Damo, I think that's how you pronounce your name, has emailed in. Is Goldberg going to beat Owens 100%? If so, that sucks for the state of WWE. That's what Damo thinks about that move. But Matt, is it 100% that he wins, or are we? Is there a small percentage that it won't happen, and perhaps WWE will change their mind?
Well, there's always a small chance that it can go a different way. I mean, I think WWE have done a good job of mixing it up over the last month or so in small ways, but the general direction always seems to be heading the way that we expected. And I can only pray that something changes and it's not all as predictable and set in stone as we're seeing, where even the bookies are telling us it's going to go one way. I think it's far too early for us to be told these things, but like you said before, like, where's this leak coming from? Who's giving out all this information? I mean, surely they shouldn't know it, and surely WWE, if they see that the public are thinking it's going to go one way, they should mix it up and change it just to prove a point. Yeah,
totally agree. Nothing really to add to that. Okay, next question is from Stephen Kempton from Luton. Thank you for your question, Stephen. Do you think Paul Heyman would make a better GM than Mick Foley? Also, why does WWE make such bad films nowadays? Also, could you do a special on the film No Holds Barred? Oh God, I don't want to go back to that again. Okay, so first point of that, let's start with the GM part, Matt. Mick Foley. Would Paul Heyman make a better GM than Mick Foley, in your opinion?
Well, I don't think Mick Foley is like a terrible GM. It's just the character role that he's been given. He has to be like the yin to Stephanie's yang, you know. He has to be the good guy. She's going to be the bad guy. And if you had that kind of dynamic with Paul Heyman, that wouldn't work, because Paul Heyman doesn't come off as a good guy. He's supposed to come off as a slimy, sleazy guy, and to have him bouncing off or under like the control of Stephanie wouldn't be a good dynamic. I think he would be a great general manager under a different kind of circumstance, and we've seen him do this, as in what he's done in ECW on the camera and that. But right now, in the situation that we are in right now, I wouldn't see him working well under those circumstances.
I don't really think Paul Heyman's the answer for that. But and Mick Foley, it's not Mick Foley. I mean, he's too scripted at the moment. That's one of his problems, I feel, with him. I feel the real Mick Foley wouldn't be like this. So it's just unfortunate that the writing's not been that good, that they've not had enough good material for the guy. In that case, in my opinion. Okay, second point is why does WWE make such bad films, Matt, nowadays? I've got an answer for that one. Don't really know, really. I mean, they are pretty awful at the best of times. I mean, a lot of it's always fascinating to me, Matt, that WWE they got into the film business, but they, rather than sort of pluck a film star out, they have just wrestlers are the film stars. They're instantly actors, and you've got to take it for that, and they're the guys. I think it started with when they came back with the Marine, didn't it, and with John Cena, and they kind of have gone that route. Whereas, of course, The Rock kind of got away from that, and to the point where he actually dropped the Rock name and just went with Dwayne Johnson. So lots of different ways to promote stuff there. But in WWE films in general, there's a couple I'd say, Matt, that I've kind of enjoyed. I liked See No Evil, the Kane one, the first one. I thought that was okay. It was a bit different. But then there are other films, Matt, that they've done, and they are quite bad, and they look like they've just been shot in 2 days. And like the wrestlers just come down. The Miz is kind of a big feature of this, isn't he? He's been in a lot of them now, and of course Maurice is always in there. There's always a deal for her, and I mean this latest one they've got coming out. There's loads of them in it. I mean Naomi's in it. There's loads of people in it. It's just. Yeah, it's never quite the story that appeals to you, that's for sure. Well, what do you make of them, Matt? Are they just sort of great B-list films and WWE knows that? Or do you think WWE secretly think these are great films?
They got to know they're B-list movies. I mean, occasionally one comes around and they'll rope a top star into being involved with it, like they did with Halle Berry, and they're like, oh, and that was some great publicity for them at the time. But a lot of the time, like you say, they're just using their own talent, and it kind of makes me wonder, like, are they setting up an advert for the wrestlers? Like, they're saying, are you considering retirement? You should get into movies, and like, you'll be set for life. And then like they come along and they're, I'd like to get in a movie, and then they go, well, show us what you got. And then they do a bad movie, and they're like, no, we're not using you again. Unless you're the Miz, then you can keep making bad movie after bad movie.
Yeah, they don't seem to have a problem with that. He seems very keen on it as well, so that seems to work. And to your last point about could we do a special on the film No Holds Barred? Man, I tell you this, I'll put it out there. If anybody else, any of our other listeners, if there's an interest to it, we'll do a special. But I don't really know that there is. It's an old, I guess it's an old kind of classic, iconic film now because it's got more credibility now as it's got older, that film, than it did when it first came out, because it's always been re-released. It's gone like from VHS to DVD to Blu-ray now. There's been like so many different releases of it, and WWE have always sort of found some sort of pride in it almost. But do you remember much about the No Holds Barred movie, Matt, itself?
I remember bits here and there, snippets. I do remember like the heavy featuring of Zeus and just what a great talent Zeus was back in the day. I can't wait to see him in action again. All those variety of moves that he had, the technical wrestler he was, or the sarcasm I'm using.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Well, we'll see. Listen, if there's other people that would like to see a special on No Holds Barred, then get in touch with us. And if there's enough people, perhaps we'll go down that avenue. I don't know how we do it, but that'll be an entertaining, interesting show.
Will we be expected to do Suburban Commando?
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. This could go on forever, and I've gone through that lot, as you well know, Matt, with our mutual friends. So I've been there. I've been there. That's for sure. Okay, let's take last couple of questions now. This is from Raj. I really like what they are doing with Baron Corbin. You said a while back that you see 2017 being a big year for him. What will his Mania match likely be? Thank you. I mean, I've been reading up that Baron Corbin is set for a big year in WWE. WrestleMania wise, Matt, I mean, is there the likelihood that he goes against Dean Ambrose, do you think, and that there is an intercontinental run there with him?
Well, we've seen that brewing, haven't we, since the Elimination Chamber when he got eliminated, and he didn't take that very well, and he took it out on Dean. And on the SmackDown, Dean was searching him out, and then found him. Probably wasn't a good idea to find him, but he did. So I guess Dean has got to still search for his revenge. And there's no SmackDown pay-per-views left before WrestleMania, so I guess that will be the day they look for the payoff then.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. With you there. Yeah, and you know, like I say, hopefully, I think the guy is good, and I think that going for the Intercontinental belt is a good, you know, it'll be a great move, a great career for him, because in a sense, Matt, last year he wins, you know, the Andre the Giant Memorial, so this is good, steady progress for him. It's not rushing him. He's kind of going through the right channels, and this would be another good